Hello everyone! Today we are going to be reading The Tortoise and the Hare. It's retold by Blake Huena, illustrated by Tim Pollan, and music by Eric Koskinen. That's the cover. So, raise your hand. Has anybody read this book before? Anybody know anything about it? Okay, good. So we're going to read this book and we're going to focus on a couple different things, all right? So can anybody tell me what a prediction is? Okay, yeah, so a prediction is when you say something that you think is going to happen. So you make predictions in a story to talk about what might happen at the end or on the next page, different things like that. So we need to remember when we're making predictions that we need to use evidence from the book. So we think that this is going to happen because of the picture or because of what the author said, okay? And then we need to be focusing on the characters. So it looks like our two characters here are a rabbit or a hare and a turtle or a tortoise. So let's pay attention to the characters and what they're doing, what the story's about, okay? Let's get started. Ooh, all right, so this first page looks a little bit different. It's a little information that the author wants us to know, okay? So I'm going to read this before we start the story. Aesop was a storyteller who wrote hundreds of stories called fables. These short tales often had animals for characters. Each story is meant to teach a moral or lesson. In this fable, there is a speedy hare or rabbit. There is also a slow but steady tortoise or turtle. What lesson can we learn from the tortoise and the hare? Turn the page to find out. Remember to sing along. So we're just going to be reading it today. We're not going to be singing along. But you see that the author calls this book a fable. We've been learning about fables, right? So at the end of this, we're going to talk about the moral of the story. So keep that in mind too. All right. There was a speedy rabbit who bragged how fast he ran. He sped right up to the top of a hill and he zoomed back down again. Oh, the rabbit bragged. He was fast. He told everyone with glee. When I run as fast as I can, no one can catch me. Does anybody know what the word glee means? How can we use the picture to figure out what it means? Okay, exactly. So I see a smile on the rabbit's face. Show me what you feel if you feel glee. Right? I would have a big smile on my face because glee is being happy, feeling joy. So you can tell by the rabbit's face. There was a poky turtle with a slow and steady pace. He was tired of all the rabbit's boasts, so he challenged him to a race. Here we go. We see a bunch of laughing over here, right? So one of the words that's bolded is boasts. Can anybody tell me what that is? Okay, so boasting is kind of like bragging. It's when you say something with a lot of pride. So, looks like the tortoise challenged him to a race. Okay, now that we just started it, let's make a prediction. I want you guys to turn and talk to a partner and share your predictions of what you think is going to happen in the story. So I want you to start out your sentences by saying, I think that this will happen, or I predict that this will happen. So go ahead and turn, share with your partners, and then we'll share out loud. This will happen after the read aloud is finished. Okay, so that was a good book, right? Good story. It was a fable. So we read at the end of the story that the moral was success comes not from what you say, but how your talents are used. So who can tell me what this means in their own words? Okay, I like that. So we're just going to go through some of the characters, some vocabulary, and then we're going to do a little activity after this. We'll go and get started. So, important vocabulary. We saw some good words in there. A lot of them were bolded, right? We talked a little bit about glee and a little bit about boast, but I wanted to highlight some other ones too. So, can anybody tell me what brag means? Anybody? Okay. Brag means to talk about something very proudly. So we kind of talked about that with boasting, right? They can both kind of be used together. If somebody's bragging about something, they're probably also boasting about it. Good job. Glee. So we already talked about this one. This one was happy, excited. You feel joy. You know, the bunny showed it with his face. So he smiled and he looked happy because he felt glee. Pokey. Pokey means slow. So who in the story do you think was Pokey? The tortoise? Exactly. So they kept calling the tortoise slow and he was pokey, and whereas the rabbit was fast, right? So boasting, proudly claiming of something. So like I said, brag, boast, they can kind of be used together. Can anybody tell me what steady is? Okay. So steady and pokey and slow were all kind of used together, right? So try and use what you know about slow to figure out what steady means. Okay. Steady means regularly developing. Those are still two pretty big words, right? So if something is steady, it's moving along at the same pace. So it's like if you were walking and you're walking at the same speed the entire time, you're being steady. It's regularly moving. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about any vocabulary or words that you didn't quite know in the story? Okay. Now we're going to talk about the characters. So first we have the hare, right? There was two main characters. Who was the other main character? Okay, exactly. So hare, one of the main characters, he's fictional, right? How do we know that he's fictional? Can anybody tell me? Okay, right? So bunnies can't actually run and race and win medals, right? They can run, but you're not going to be seeing them on a road racing a turtle. So that's how we know it's fictional. So he boasts and brags. He's really confident and really braggy about how fast he is. So we know that he's a fast runner. But do we also know about him? We know that he's lazy, right? How do we know that he's lazy? Okay, so let's keep in mind what we know about the hare. Okay, we're going to look at the tortoise now. I see a lot of the opposite characteristics for the hare, right? So tortoise, it's also a main character, and it's also a fictional character, right? Also, that tortoise with a hat, that's so cute. But we wouldn't probably see a tortoise with a hat walking down the road. It'd be cool if we did, though. But, so we see some opposites, right? So the tortoise is pokey. It's kind of slow and steady pace, right? So whereas the hare is really fast throughout the story with its running, the tortoise is slow, steady. It walks at the same pace the entire time. But one other word down here, humble. Can anybody tell me what they think humble means? Exactly. So it's the opposite of boasting. It's whenever you're really honest and you don't really, you might be confident, but that doesn't mean you go out and say it all the time, right? The hare was like, I'm so fast, I'm better. But the tortoise is humble. He kind of keeps to himself. He doesn't boast or brag, right? Okay. So now that we've talked about the story, we've talked about the characters, we're going to talk about sequencing. I talked a little bit about this before the read aloud, but does anybody want to tell me what they think sequencing is? Okay. I like those answers. So sequencing is when you put events in a specific order. So there are some keywords that we can think of to use for sequencing, right? So if I say, first I woke up and brushed my teeth. Next, I brushed my hair. Then I put on my clothes. So I'm using words like first, second, next, last to kind of tell the order of the story, but it goes in a specific order, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here's a little example. So like I said, first you wake up, then you put on clothes. Next you eat breakfast, and last you brush your teeth. So that is a sequence for how your morning goes. So we can do sequencing with a bunch of different things, but we're going to specifically do sequencing with the story. So now it's time to do an activity. And then I'll go on to explain that the instructions, they have to cut and paste, and then I'll hand out the worksheet. They'll cut, paste, and then once I start seeing students are getting closer to being done, then I will instruct the early finishers that once they've completed cutting and pasting the sequence in order, they will flip their paper over, and write one sentence for each of the boxes. So they have to write a corresponding sentence to the corresponding image of the events of the story. First, this happened. Next, this happened. Then this happened. And I will walk around and monitor and help when needed. Thank you.